Welcome to the Select Board meeting for Monday, January 27th. Call to order at 6:32 p.m. First item, review of surplus equipment request from the town clerk, third read. Any discussion or motion?
Just give me a second to pull it up on here while my computer boots up again.
I have
No
no
concerns.
questions or comments. I will make a motion that we declare the item HP Color LaserJet Enterprise M553 printer as described in the surplus disposition request to be disposed as junk.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Discussion regarding the decorative streetlights on Route 2.
The only update that I have for the three of you is that Glenn and I have reached out to two different vendors, one being an engineer to talk about receiving a proposal on how to help us, and the other being Tanco, who helped do design work for us when we did the LED retrofits about 6 years ago. So they're not engineers, but we may not need engineers on this project. So we're going to get both proposals so you have some comparison to do. And we'll bring those to your attention. And then we also followed up with District 2 in the Chapter 90 grant program. And the available funds that are in our account could be used towards this project.
Oh.
So for a potential funding source, that may be available to you all if you decided to. So
Okay.
those are the updates that we have today.
Any questions or other items?
No.
Good.
No.
Review of meeting minutes. Mine froze. I believe the February 7th came more recently. I don't know if you had a chance to review them. Scott?
I did not. They were
Okay.
the ones that came yesterday afternoon. but-
Pass over those. We'll carry them on a future meeting.
Yeah. The other two I'm all set with, but
All right. February 27th, 2023, and January 13th, 2025. So we'll take those separately.
motion to approve minutes from February 27th, 2023 as written.
A second. Any discussion?
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will
Those opposed?
abstain.
Abstention?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve meeting minutes from Monday, January 13th, 2025 as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Discussion regarding participation in the Franklin Regional Council of Governments grant application for shared energy manager.
So there is a program that's being offered through the utility companies in partnership with the state to allow municipalities and school districts to apply for an energy manager position. The funding can be used for salary and benefits, part-time, full-time, could be used for a consultant. And the whole purpose is a award for a 3-year, up to a 3-year period that would allow such a position to get established within the applying entity, with the goal that at the end of the 3 years that systems have been arranged to continue the work. Its full focus is on energy efficiency initiatives and other energy development for the municipality. So whether that's on-site generation like solar, that may be something that we could explore. Sort of building up the green communities work and taking some of those best practices that we were implementing in the in the facilities and taking that work to the next level. Back in November, they were holding webinars on this with the state. I did participate in it. It's a heavy lift, and Erving couldn't justify a position by itself, and it would only make sense to do it as a regional effort. But with everything that we have going on, there was no way to really explore a potential partnership. FERCOG is offering to be the one to lead that partnership. But to make their application make sense, they need probably 4 to 5 municipalities and/or schools to sign on. So they're wondering if you're interested.
Have they talked at all about how they would allocate the time? If there's
They need to know first who's interested and what their projects are. I have told them that we have a large project for the school that we're anticipating, that Chief Wonka has indicated that he's looking to do more energy efficiency at the stations and or look at site generation. The school would like to look at site generation. And that's just a start.
So Brian and I were talking about it previously when this came up. I think it's a great idea. I think we should go forward with it. My only concern is making sure that we put a notation in 2 years from now, around this time, or even earlier in the fall, start talking about what's the return on investment, and are we getting a return on investment for it, and is it worth bringing it up as incorporating it in the budget for that fiscal year's or upcoming fiscal year's budget to absorb it. If this goes away, the grant funding goes away, is it a position we want to continue, and how do we do that in working it into the budget? So just not losing sight of that it's not a temporary position, but it's a temporary grant to get it started. And that if we're seeing some positive returns on it, then it would be worthwhile to start planning early about how we integrate that into the budget.
if the FERCOG doesn't potentially integrate it as a shared service for
Correct.
for other uses,
and that conversation can
depending
happen
on
along the way.
the adoption. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
I don't see any harm in exploring it.
No.
We're not
Just-
managing that on our own right now, so.
And the one question I did ask Brian is, I know they're the one putting it together and they're the one doing it. What's our lift? And he said, attend the meetings that I would already attend anyways. I said, okay. So,
And there is no strain on our budget. It's all grant funded.
At this time,
For
for the initial grant application, it would be fully grant funded. The question would be in that, as we're approaching the third year, to sustain it, it may be a proposed model where there is a cost sharing between the towns like the other shared services.
Okay.
I would encourage we revisit annually and the return on what we're getting out of it, even as a shared grant-funded program, if it happens. So it'll help inform its success along the way.
Yeah.
All right.
do you want a motion to send
Yeah,
that
let's
letter?
motion to
makes sense.
support it.
All right. I'll make a motion that we send along a letter of support to the Director of Planning at the Franklin Regional Council of Governments regarding the Municipal Energy Manager Grant Program.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There was a draft letter of support in the packet. You're okay with that being the one?
I had no concerns.
I
Did
have
you?
none. Nope.
No
It highlights all the
concerns here.
pieces.
So I'll put it in final form and have you sign before you leave.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Review of the federal fiscal year 2021 Community Development Block Grant Housing Rehabilitation Program request for quarter ending December 31st, 2024.
Say that one 3 times fast.
I mean, it's almost more words than the memo that it supports. Any questions or concerns?
No.
None.
Okay. Review of the 10-town loan fund FY25 quarter 2 report. No questions?
None.
None.
Review and potential vote on the request to discharge a mortgage from the 10 Town Loan Fund. Looks like that we have 3 of them. Is that correct? Oh wait, never
No,
mind.
those-
No, I'm
those-
mixing. Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm mixing the Q2. Sorry.
Yeah.
Scrolling to the next one. The
This was one
Correct.
from started in '04 and
Yep.
ceased in 2023, I believe.
And Franklin County CDC manages this loan program for you all. They've already written off this loan as uncollectible.
Right.
And so the request to you all is to release the mortgage and allow that instrument to be recorded at the registry.
So basically, are we good that they wrote it off and we'll let the collateral go and not
Right.
make good on it?
That's the question. And there should be a memo in your packet from Glenn, who administers it for you,
Mhm.
with that recommendation.
Any other questions or related to it? Or concerns, thoughts,
No.
motion?
With the motion, if you all could identify Chairman Smith as the signatory on that.
Will do. Do you want it just to authorize the discharge of mortgage?
Sure.
That's sufficient. I'll make a motion that we authorize Jacob Smith, Chair, to be the signatory on the discharge of mortgage related to 85 Spooner Road in Warwick, Mass. 01378, which no,
Should be
that's all of it.
sufficient, right?
Yeah, that's it.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. We'll get that ready for your signature.
Thank you. Review a request from the Western Mass Climbing Association for a letter of support for a conservation restriction.
And you do have a guest with us today for that topic.
Sure.
Sure, you made
Come on
the
up.
drive. You might as well come up.
Absolutely.
We were surprised when we saw him walk in. And said,
Yeah, well, I just want to be sure in case anything
Yeah.
came up that somebody was here to answer your questions.
Appreciate it. If you don't mind introducing yourself
Sure.
for the
I
viewing audience.
am Ryan Shimeko. I am a board member of the Massachusetts Climbers Coalition, and then my day job is, my title is Natural Resource Specialist, but I work for the U.S. Department of Agriculture Natural Resource Conservation Service, and I work mostly with conservation easements. So, here in Massachusetts, we call them conservation restrictions. So, I do this all day.
Excellent.
So you're a proponent and an expert.
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll go with that.
Sure. Questions,
So
comments?
we met the other day, had a Zoom meeting to discuss it. Since then, though, there was the update to this. Is it Access Fund is the entity
Correct.
that is offered to? Should
Yes.
I say?
So the Access Fund is a national climate organization, and they are a certified land trust. They have offered to be an entity if we needed one. We would prefer to have someone local, the town, or a local land trust hold it, preferably the town. Part of the reason is that the Access Fund is based out of Colorado, and so for them to monitor the easement, we would be taking that cost on. And also, I think it's better to have a local connection to the property. And it also strengthens our application to Mass Trails and any other further applications that we would put in with the state. But they, like I said, they have offered, so we have someone that's able to do it if the town did not want to. As far as any asks from the town. I think the only thing that we would need from the town is that annual monitoring. A part of the conservation restriction process would be there's a lot of different components to it, but the big ones would be the deed, baseline documentation report, those things. I would be able to do the baseline documentation report in conjunction with the town. We have an attorney on our board who is a board member of the Greater Worcester Land Trust as well, and so he's very familiar with this. So we'd be able to work with the town on the deed, the restrictions, all of those things. We would primarily be focusing on recreational restrictions, and we would be using a deed, one of the stock deeds from the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. I think, there's a little, what else there is. But essentially what we need a letter of support for is just really a general letter of support from the town if you are supportive of us trying to conserve that property and have it serve as a trailhead for Rattlesnake Mountain, and then also as another access point to the trails that are part of the Northfield Recreation Complex. We would be creating trails to connect all of those things. The Mass Trails application would be a $100,000 grant for us to put those funds towards paying off the loan that we've taken to acquire the rock property. So that's the actual purpose of this grant. That grant application is due next Monday. So I think that's the February 4th. Third. Does anybody have any questions? Kind of bounce around there.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think a couple different pieces, right? There's the letter of support, and then there's the
Right.
co-holder piece, right? And or management of that.
I mean, I think
There's one.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I'm just thinking are they tied together in this moment, or it's more of the letter of support is more time sensitive versus the kind of the go forward management piece?
Letter of support is the time sensitive piece, but I do think going to the strength of the application, the letter of support indicating whether or not the town is even willing to consider being a holder or co-holder on the CR may be important information, and if we don't address it, I can see that being a question from the grantors.
So I'll give
Go
my
ahead,
two
'cause I
cents.
ha-
And
yeah,
this
go
is, I said this in the meeting when we discussed it, is that I'm in favor of, the letter of support. I am also, just as you were concerned about having an entity out of Colorado that wouldn't be able to do the lift of the actual, annual requirements, and you would want a local entity, that would fall on the town of Erving if we're co-holding that. So I wanted to make sure that if we're venturing into this and we're saying yes, we're in support of it, and we are entertaining the idea of being the co-holder with another entity, another land trust, that we have some flexibility in how we work out the future responsibilities, because these are going to go in perpetuity, and I want to make sure that we are not setting up for the next 20, 30, 40 years for boards that, as those requirements change, because they always will, and what's required every year now in 2024 or 2025, and as we go forward, it will not be the same in 2035 and 45. And so I want to make sure that we are careful and thoughtful about that when we make our decision if we want to, co-hold that. So that's my only hiccup with saying, absolutely, let's sign on and let's do it. I'm in full favor of the idea of that land being conserved and used for recreational. I have no concerns with that whatsoever. It's how we get to that end, and how much is Erving willing to take on to see that happen.
I mean, I think that the big thing for us would be that if the letter of support could really just, for the most part, say that the town is not against our intentions of using the space for public recreation and trying to promote that in a reasonable way. But we also couldn't not at least bring this up. And we also wanted to bring it up because we wanted to give the town time to think about it. Functionally, the restriction process, I mean, sorry, there's so many moving parts that it probably wouldn't start for another 3 years, would be my guess. 2 to 3 years. And then based on the amount of time that it takes the executive office to go through, because they have to review these restrictions, that could be another year or two on top of that. But as we're applying to these grants, we wanted to at least start conversations where we could. But like I said, the biggest thing is the grantor would probably like to see that the town that the project is proposed for is in support of it. And the other thing to add is that a lot of this, I mean, I also understand that it kind of puts the town in a weird position because a part of the project is going to be going in front of the town planning board, as we have to apply for a special permit for any parking lot that we put there. Currently, we have an engineer that's done a wetland, well, we've had a wetland delineation done. The engineer has those flags, and we're working out stormwater, but until we have an actual design, we can't start that permit process, so. But we also couldn't not try to apply for a $100,000 grant that goes towards public outdoor recreation, so here I am.
I agree with Scott. I'm in favor of a letter of support that includes indicating our interest in taking co-responsibility or the consideration of co-responsibility moving forward. You know, obviously, the fine details would need to be worked out and determined before we could make a final answer, but yes, if there's $100,000 on the table that could help keep our recreation areas usable and open to communities, I'm in favor of that.
When, did I hear February 3rd? What was the date? You were
February
looking for,
3rd is when our application is due, so
Due, okay.
I know, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I just wanted to confirm. I was going to say the same. I'm in favor of supporting, of the letter of support, and I think it makes sense. And you know, Open Space is actually meeting and refreshing that plan this week, even work towards that, of stating that we are, you know, willing to consider or interested in discussing what that, you know, colder might look like, whether we'll actually fully, you know, go through and into what degree. I think that will take time and work, but I think stating that we're open to it and open to the discussion of it makes sense to me. I mean, I'm not against it. I'm not hearing you guys against it.
No,
I think it makes sense for, you know, what have been goals of the town and continue to be. So I think we didn't have a draft. So I think generically, you know, if we want to vote on that tonight, it's on the agenda, and then the exact wording we can finalize and sign off on
Do you want
separately.
to identify a member to work on that with me and give final approval?
Yes. Scott, would you like?
Yeah.
I'm only volunteering you because I know you've already been involved in
Yeah.
the conversations, unless you
Yeah,
feel strongly.
No.
We can chat this week.
Scott's already knee-deep in.
That's all right. Well,
Okay.
I was there in the meeting, so I heard it firsthand. We can chat this week. I got time.
Okay.
I'll see
I
you.
think
I'll see you 3 of the nights.
The
anyway,
nuance of
so-
language is, you know, the point of it is we support it and we're open to
Yeah.
the discussion. So I think those are the gist of it.
That's it.
All right, well, I'll move that we support a letter of support for the grant application and identifying that we have an interest in discussions around co-holdership and what that could be and could look like. And we will nominate Scott to work on the exact wording and finalize that for us. And once it's done, we can sign off on it.
Okay.
I will second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very
Appreciate
much.
you coming out. Sorry for the
Yeah.
quick conversation, but I'm sure we'll have more
That's all
to
right.
come on it.
If anybody here, or I guess in town, has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I think you have my email, and
I
then
do.
there's also Stephanie, of course, but any
Absolutely.
questions related to the project at all. All right, well,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Brian, let's touch base at the end of the meeting tonight. We can pick a time.
We'll figure it out.
If capital and finance want to get settled in while we wrap up the last couple items here before 7, feel free. So, the FY26 fuel procurement annual renewal, heating, oil, gasoline, and diesel. Questions, concerns? Motion?
So I read through it. I have no concerns. There's a couple of motions there.
You want to take one and I'll take one?
Sure, you take the first one.
Okay, I will make a motion to renew the award for the procurements of unleaded gasoline and diesel fuel to Dennis K. Burke Incorporated of Taunton, Mass. For fiscal year 2026, beginning July 1, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2026, and authorize Brian Smith, Town Administrator, to execute all necessary agreements.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll make a motion to renew the award for the procurement of number 2 heating fuel oil to Sprague Operating Resources LLC of Portsmouth, New Hampshire for fiscal year 2026, beginning July 1, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2026. And to authorize Brian Smith, Town Administrator, to execute all necessary agreements.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Review of the town planner preliminary screening committee search recommendation and discussion of interview questions. So,
I was gonna.
2 parts to that. One, we'll table questions until Wednesday
Yeah, I was
night.
gonna say, being already at 7 o'clock, not giving, I don't want to take that up at 9 o'clock when we're done with the budget and start discussing then. We have time on
Agreed.
Wednesday to
Agreed.
finalize those, as long as we come in prepared with any amendments and edits and suggestions.
You guys can email me
Agreed.
if you have any
We can put it
suggestions.
together real quick.
Yeah, that's not our first time going through these, so
No,
we've done a lot of them more recently, so a lot of our question sets are up to date. So that is meetings at 7:30 on Wednesday. We'll start with interview questions, and then the interview is around 8,
set for 8 o'clock.
about 8 o'clock, yep. If we need a little longer, obviously, we can. To wrap questions, we can, but I don't think we will.
We have a good foundation.
Agreed?
Yeah, I think the, Brian put the 12 that we had worked off of
Correct.
in the memo here, so give us a good starting point to.
Yep, and I think just in summary, the screening committee originally had 4 candidates.
Had 4,
3.
1, yeah, we interviewed 3. 1, we had declined to interview because at the time we made the decisions, the application was incomplete. While we were in the midst and had already completed the first round of interviews with the first group, that application became complete. We had discussed it and said we would hold that one until we saw the results of this round. And if it became unfilled throughout this process, then that application would become viable for the next round of interviews, should we need to. So we'll see what happens at the conclusion of this. Through the interview process, the screening process, we did come with 1 recommendation that we felt very comfortable putting forward to this board to review in a public interview.
Okay. All right, and we will do that on Wednesday then.
Okay.
With that, it is 7:01, so call the joint meeting with the Finance Committee and the Capital Planning Committee to order. Review of the FY26 operating budget and capital request for general government. Welcome, everybody. First up, welcome, Michelle, tax collector.
You go first.
You're welcome.
You start with the easiest, and you let me not have to wait.
Is everybody good to go?
Just need one word. I'm still
Need a
getting
minute?
logged in.
Yeah, I am as well, so.
And for department heads, when you come up, sometimes it's easier if you just say what your department number is, so they know where to navigate.
Oh, okay.
But-
146,
Can I go to
tax
146?
collector.
The fact that you all know that is great, because it does not roll off for us that quickly.
Brian, can
Just make sure I don't take the table with me.
you, yeah, let's not do that.
We're gonna move the schedule to 5 or 10 minutes after to start. Give us a minute to set up in the future.
Michelle,
Well,
I'm sorry.
plus-
What was your number again?
146.
146. Okay, thank you.
Plus, you're getting used to the new software too, right?
We are. I'm impressed for what, maybe officially second or third time in a meeting we've had to pull it up. I felt like we did pretty good last time. So
Yeah.
we're getting there.
Good.
Plus, we all do it at the same moment, and so the internet loves us for about 5 minutes.
Sure.
Everybody else's loading okay?
Yep.
Good to go?
Yep, I'm in.
Do you need a minute or are you good? Okay. All right. Take us away.
So not much has changed, but yet things have changed. It's hard to believe it's been a year already. So in April of last year, the tax collector position, person who was filling that, Ann Petrain, resigned. And that position was open until December, but it's a new position now. So we have the blended financial assistant position sharing with my office and Jackie's office. So that's created a little bit of a reduction. You have somebody who was there for 10 plus years, and now you have a new person coming on board. Also, the stipend certification line item can be reduced because there's not a need for that with this position. So that's about the gist of what's changed in my budget. It actually went down.
I don't think you'll get any complaints.
No, pretty certain.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
No, I don't think so.
And no capital, correct?
Correct.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Michelle gets the gold star for fastest presentation.
Right?
You're gonna have competition on the next one.
All right. All right. Accounting is next. Deb, come on up.
Number 135.
Thank you.
Is it in there?
It is. So, for some reason, with some of the onboarding issues that we're having, for some reason Deb's access was screwing up. So I've put everything in here. My numbers may not perfectly match what you had in there, but your narrative's in here and the numbers are in here.
Okay.
We can fine tune if we have to.
Okay, I guess I go first. I'm waiting for questions here. Well, there isn't much in my budget that is really, there's under my control. The contracts for software support and the OPEB study are in there, and the auditor is in there. So those are kind of things that vary by contract. The plain old expenses are minimal. The only thing significant that I wanted to bring up was I would like to put some extra money in for wages for perhaps someone to be an assistant and learn the ropes, or perhaps if someone was going to be the new town accountant for a little overlap. I'm not really sure what my plan is for that yet, and I'm not really sure I'm ready to even make a plan for that. But when budget time came around, I said, I think maybe a year from now would be maybe a good time to actually start implementing it. And if we don't talk about it until then and do provide for it, then it wouldn't be able to happen. I have a lot of mixed feelings about how to approach it. I have a lot of mixed feelings of how long I really want to keep doing this. Most days I'm like almost happy to get in there and crunch them numbers, but some days I'm going, why am I still doing this? It's been a challenging year with the new software conversion. I do see that there's a lot of advantages with the new software, that there's so much in there. That's why it's taking a lot longer to really get it rolling and rolling smoothly. And I want to finish up getting back caught up. I was behind this year quite a bit. I just finished submitting the balance sheet for free cash. It hasn't been approved yet. I do have the Schedule A filed. So I'm wrapping it up and now getting back into getting caught up. And as to what comes next, I just wanted a placeholder there.
Not specific to that, I just wanted to mention, I don't know if anybody else having it. Mine looks like it's splitting up the numbers again. I don't know.
It's
if anybody
duplicating
else
the
is
lines right
doing
now.
that. Duplicating the lines again?
It is duplicating it, yeah.
Okay,
Let me shoot a message
little
to
funny.
tech support,
okay.
putting some of them as zeros across, and then
Yeah, we're
Having true
negatives and then
numbers, yeah.
positives in a different line, and
Yep.
so it's just throwing me off a little. I just wasn't sure if anybody else was experiencing that.
no, you're not the only one.
Okay. Questions, comments, thoughts?
Well,
I just want to be, for clarity, I read in your narrative the 7,000. Is that also in the numbers, or was that after?
I'm
Brian?
going to defer to Brian.
Do you
Did
recall
you-
if that
because he
7,000 was
actually entered
embedded
it?
in the?
I moved it into the permanent salary and wages line.
Okay, I just wanted to know.
So I did put
when
the
we-
7,000
When
in.
we look at the totality,
It's in
as we
there.
move along, it's already in there.
That's
Thank you.
correct.
That's the majority of the 88 in
Yeah.
the wage increase.
Yeah, yeah, that's,
The other thing I did, so to Debbie's point, the cost for auditing went up. As you all know,
Mhm.
we just had to do a single audit in addition to the financial audit, and the financial audit cost has gone up. And we have to continue to do our OPEB study. So that line item did increase. Software I'm holding for right now, there's sufficient funding in there. If we're only paying for Zobrio, we have to have a conversation about whether or not we need software again next year.
I think from my end, if we just archive the reports,
We
I
should be
don't
ready.
really need it. But the payroll may be another
So we just
question.
work that through. So we may have a cost savings on that piece of the software if we don't need both systems this year.
And that's what makes up the 76.
Correct. Maybe a place to attribute the other budget module that you all were talking about at your last meeting in terms of capacity.
Gotcha. I think there's probably just it's more of a housekeeping thing, but whether or not we move some of the software costs to ITS townwide,
It's a fair
now
question.
that we're incorporating them that way. But it really isn't, that's just semantics of moving it, so.
Right.
Not something that affects the number. Questions, comments, other questions? Thoughts?
no.
No. All right, thank you.
Thank you,
I just
Deb.
got kicked out, so I'm gonna need a second to log back in.
Okay, no problem.
Isn't that fun?
Right?
I just sent that off to tech support. I'll let you know what they say.
Thank you.
Brian, I don't know if it's supposed to work that way, but anytime I try and open like a departmental narrative or anything that is not Zobrio, I get the boot instantly.
That's a feature.
Yeah,
Security.
right?
No, that's not
I
supposed
don't,
to
I
work
don't
that
think
way.
that's security.
A dialog box should pop up. There should be a file or
It
multiple
did, and I
files.
double clicked that to open it. It brought me to Word, and then I got kicked out of Zobrio because I was reading Deb's narrative,
Interesting.
and it just booted me right out of Zobrio.
Do you get kicked out of ZBR or do you get kicked out of the RDP completely?
It brought me back to my desktop.
So you
That's
kicked out of the
RDP.
RDP.
Interesting.
Altogether.
It's good to know.
That was the question I was going to ask anyway, just from a
Yeah.
what's
And I wonder if it's
troubleshooting.
a difference between the capacity of the tablet.
Well, I don't know if anybody else is having it.
I don't. I
You
didn't
know, on
get-
the on the narratives, I don't even show them on mine to open.
You didn't see it on the account one?
It's not there. I'm looking at it right now. It's not there.
It's next to line
It's the two little
51.
Paper clips.
the two little paper
Yeah,
clips
those
on
paper
those lines.
clips are the
Mhm.
narratives. Okay.
Sorry.
Am I missing it?
Probably.
The little
I feel
paper
like-
clips? Oh, you don't have them, do you, Thomas? So you should, right next to Tom, it should be
Okay,
line
I'm gonna
51,
stand down.
That is
He does not have-
fascinating.
100 perm salary.
They're not
You should
here.
have two little paper clips.
And mine opens with no problems.
And I don't have the paper clip.
Thomas
is also
doesn't
a feature.
have, Thomas doesn't have them either.
And double click
Interesting.
that.
I'm wondering. I'm like, why can you not see them? They're right there. But I got you.
I will research that. In the meantime, would you like me to email it to you all? Just you have. I mean, it's clearly there.
Sure.
But yeah. I'll
Yeah, why
email
don't
it to
you?
It's clearly not there right now on mine, but
It will load.
I'm glad a few people were quick tonight because we're not. So I mean, it's probably a feature to hide those, and mine are hidden. But yeah, no, I don't have them visible
Jen,
at
you
all.
can come up and
Are
get
you
settled
in
if
stage
you
2 or
want.
stage 1, by the way?
So mine,
Stage one.
I wonder if are you in stage 2, Brian?
I'm at stage 1.
What are you on?
Stage 2 because I can edit or modify if
Start
needed.
on. Turn it back
Yep.
to stage 1 and see if that makes a
They're
difference.
not visible in stage 2. I just switched back.
But when you go back to stage 1, they're there.
They're there.
Thomas, try to switch it back to stage 1. See if that makes a difference for you. And
Up on the top right of the menu bar.
Oh, I am in stage 1.
Yeah.
it's still not showing.
No.
Okay. Stand by.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah, well, they're not visible in stage 2, so we get a couple different items for the future. No.
and mine's still printing double lines, so
This
I got
one
to
does.
read it twice. Do
Oh, okay.
you want me to send you a copy?
Oh, the narratives
I've
are
got
doubled
two.
too, yes. Did you find it?
That's when you emailed that to you.
Okay.
We found them on
Alright.
the accountant one. Yeah.
Okay.
Enough tomfoolery.
Which one of the 9 budgets? Are you,
Oh my goodness.
right. I mean, well, this one's
Which 9 of the 18 lines are we talking about?
right. 9, 14,
my
15,
goodness.
16, 19.
Do we only read the odd ones or the even ones?
All right.
Okay. We all love technology.
Keep saying that.
Are you good? You're back,
I'm
right?
all
Okay.
set.
All right. Now that we're settled in,
Thank you for bearing with our technical difficulties.
All good.
Treasury, health insurance, and benefits.
All sorts of fun stuff.
Oh yeah, take us away. 145?
Yep. Yeah, there's not too much in the treasurer's budget that changed. Just an increase in step for salaries. The expenses leveled out, same as last year. Tax title, same thing, level funded that as well. Retirement contributions, we just went with, we have our assessment already, so I'll just put those numbers in there. Unemployment went up a little bit just because oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh.
Am I going too fast?
Well, they need to switch to different
Well,
departments.
We're in
Okay.
treasurer, and
So-
you've moved on to benefits and health, right?
Yes.
Which are different numbers,
It's okay.
Yeah, 158, 911.
So 145 is the main budget,
correct.
and then
And so we'll take them one at a time.
Yeah, right.
Because for us to switch around quickly, isn't quick. Any questions on treasurer?
No.
Can anyone see the narrative in treasurer?
No.
No.
Okay, good.
I will
I just want to make sure it's not just me. It's not you, it's just us.
It was just giving it basically an update on, the software system. Things are going well. We're finding some efficiencies in some places, and some places we're finding a few struggles. Right, that's tonight now. EWS, we have a good amount of departments up and running. We're going, piece by piece. Hopefully, we're hoping to be fully functionable this spring. The only departments that aren't on there right now are the wastewater and highway, police. I think that's it. But we have town hall up and running. We have library.
Fire?
Fire's up and running. Yep. Oh, and senior center also needs to be up and running, but is not quite yet. And then recreation. So about half and half.
Okay. Brian just took it as we should just pull the narratives and send them around too, just out of cycle, and we can have them handy just in case. Okay, 158 tax title?
Tax title, yep, that's just level funded. Not too much going on there.
Makes it easy.
Okay. Next is
9/11.
Is it 9/11?
Yeah, 9/11's
Correct.
retirement contributions, yep.
yeah, all of the benefits will be in the 900s.
Again,
You said
this is
that's
a
the-
fixed cost that we have no control over. It's our assessment, and as wages go up, our assessment goes up. And other factors contribute to that as well.
And you said this is the assessment?
Yep, for FY26,
Yeah,
yep.
okay. Questions on that?
Nope.
Then unemployment?
Unemployment, same thing as wages increases. We just have an increase for, actually, our rate did drop. We're, I think, at 0.2, which is good. And we were at 0.3 for a while. But we don't have any claims recently, so that keeps the rate down.
If anyone has questions, speak up, otherwise we'll just keep going to health insurance.
The fun one. So I kind of did put together a spreadsheet on how I came up with my numbers. I worked in a 4% increase. We will know on Wednesday. Our IAC meeting is on Wednesday, so we'll know what the actual increase is then. We have 15 open positions / people not exercising benefits. So there's a lot of wiggle room. So basically what I did is I took the 3 different plans, I took an average, and worked those numbers into having a buffer as for if people want to exercise during open enrollment to get on plans. But we're constantly changing. It's, every month to month, it's fluctuation, whether, they're having life events, people are getting married or they're having children and they're adding those dependents on, or if people are aging out. So once their children hit 26, then they can go down to like an E+1 or even a single plan. So there's a lot of fluctuation in this area.
This number, you're satisfied that this number maintains your flexibility to accommodate all of those constant changes that you're seeing?
I do, yep. So the annual town share I have, again, I can share the spreadsheet with you guys. I just have to break it off because I have it on a spreadsheet of everybody's health benefits, so I'll just break it off for you guys to share with you. But I have the annual town share at 1.3 million. And then the yearly open positions using the average that I use was 237,000. And so that brought us up to 1.5 million, and then an estimated 4% increase gave us the 1.65 million. Actually, Brian, did I email that spreadsheet to you? I felt like maybe I did.
And that's specific to the health insurance. I'm assuming
Yeah,
you
it's
did
just
the
for
same
health.
thing
Well,
on the
yeah,
dental,
health,
basically?
dental, and life. I have all those rolled get together. Yes.
Okay. But the same process across
Yep.
them all?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
I was just about to ask about the 32,000 for dental.
Well,
Same
yeah, I was
pro-
gonna say
same
your
process.
165 wasn't including it, so that's why I was.
Right.
Yep.
And dental, it's a set increment too, so
Right.
it's a much lower amount because $53 for a family plan, 28 for an E+1, and 14 for a single plan.
Okay.
And change.
Questions on that? Did you say 15 open?
15 open positions slash people
Slash
not exercising
not
benefits. Yeah, so
exercising,
it's
yeah,
not necessarily
okay,
open
gotcha.
positions, but
Yep, thank you.
it's slots open.
Yep. And you said Wednesday you'll know the actual increase?
Yep.
Okay.
Be nice if it was less than 4. but
It
we'll
would
see.
be great.
It was 8 last year.
Vote for less. Definitely less than 8. Life insurance?
Yeah, so the annual town share is $3,933.60. Yearly open positions I have for $286.08. There's only only 4 unfilled positions, and you can only sign up for life insurance upon new hire. So that has less of a wiggle room. So landed at $4,218.
Just didn't have a prior year budget because of the old system versus new system? Is
So I
that,
was getting the files for you.
Yeah, it wasn't
Which
broken
line
out, I
item
don't
you on?
believe.
is that what it, okay, that's what I thought. It wasn't broken out last?
Yeah, it's
Correct.
915, so that's why you
So
don't.
it
that's
used
why
to
you don't
all
have
be
a
rolled
year
into
over
the
year.
health insurance. It was like a
Right.
more of an umbrella fund,
Okay,
and we created a little more definition.
Yeah.
got it. That's what I thought. So we don't see the prior year, the year over years, it looks like a full increase because of that.
Correct.
Medicare?
Yeah, same thing, just a $5,000 increase.
And then 919 is yours as well, is that right?
Yep, it's the flex spend and the 403B, the admin fees. Nothing crazy there.
No. Any others we didn't cover yours?
No, I think
Is
we
that
got
all of
more.
them?
Yeah, that's everything.
Any
All
other
the benefits.
questions?
Not
Okay.
right now.
All right,
Thank
and
you.
I'm gonna I'll email you that spreadsheet too.
It's already.
Oh, you got it? Okay. You
I found it. It's
Already
all in there.
done?
Awesome.
Thank you.
When you get the new numbers, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of us
And
can
I'm
update
also
it.
working on meeting with the bank too to see if I can secure some more percentages for income.
Lock in, yeah, that'd be great.
Great.
Keep us posted.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Town clerk and elections. Come on up, sir.
How you doing?
Fantastic.
How are you?
All right.
161, I believe. Is that right?
Like the 161.
don't think I have a lot to add to what I wrote up. Unless you have specific questions, I think I put it all in there.
So this is another one of those where I'm not seeing the.
I don't have a narrative.
Yeah,
It's an issue with the
According to you all
software.
right now.
Some of the spreadsheets, we have the link for the narratives, and some they're not populating, so we can't see them. So,
It should all be in your inboxes right now.
okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I didn't bring any of the actual things that I sent you. You know,
don't
I
need to.
was half expecting a book here like last year.
This should all be the book.
This
Yeah.
is the book, right?
We're supposed to have it. We
The
do
book
have
is
it.
missing a few pages, but otherwise it's there.
So,
I think generally, any questions from what you do see, budget-wise?
I'm gonna pop open the narrative on my phone real quick, because if I do it on the tablet, I get booted.
There it is.
I don't have any
I was
specific
going to say,
budget
pretty
questions. Yeah.
straightforward after I got to read it.
yeah. Every year, as you know, elections, the costs are either up or down depending on how many I gotta run, and things like that. I think the biggest change, the biggest item that we had this year was after Brian and I chatted for a little bit, we thought perhaps it would be nice to have a backup to do some of the things in my office that only I know how to do, you know, like elections, things like that. So towards that end, that's why the request was put in there that upped the line item a little bit for conferences, so that the assistant town clerk can also attend those conferences. And our plan is this next year to have a more of a concerted effort to train, maybe some hands-on, so you never know. A lot of buses out there, I could get hit, especially while I'm driving.
No, let's hit the lottery.
Yeah, the lottery is a much nicer bus to take out of town. Go a warmer place maybe, or whatever your preference. Well, current year related, but do we have the the new polling or voting stuff? Is that here? Are we?
Yes, that is here.
Okay.
And I anticipate it being in place, and that we'll use it at the annual town meeting, yes. And one of the things that I envision happening there is, at the beginning of the meeting, to have a bit of a show and tell, so that everybody understands how it operates, and maybe go through a sample question or whatever, and so people get a feel for it. And then the tech person will be there if people have questions on stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Exciting.
Yeah, very. Other questions, comments? Good.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up, Conservation Commission. Come on up, Mark.
I think we're 171, correct?
You are.
That is
Correct.
correct.
And I'm not sure that we submitted anything, except to say that we did hash through our budget, and we basically are at the same point as we were last year and the year before, and possibly the year before that. However, one year we'll end up with a bunch of asks from the library or other people for support for an activity or somebody to be brought in. And the next year, there'll be a bunch of needs for someone to do wetland assessments. And we'll have to hire consultants to come in and make sure that what's being submitted to us is accurate on NOIs and RDAs. So, and it does seem as if one year it's education and the next year it's permits and and back and forth. At the present time, I have, oh yes, we'll be in touch with you from both the school and the library for, support for educational, and I can see on the horizon the possibility of some significant permitting issues, but they may not come in this year. We were originally told maybe 2 years down the line on one big project, and I know there might be something within the town that has to be done, but we don't have anything as to when we'll have to get those out. So, other than that, we had a successful year of small activity days on our land. We had some people come in to lead some hikes that were very small groups. And this year we're not looking at doing that, except doing our own, cleaning up trails or whatnot. So you have any questions?
No, I don't think so.
No. Thank
So I
you.
did level
Thank
fund
you.
in the budget book,
Yes,
but let's connect to get the narrative in there.
right.
Excellent.
And I think you were here when we talked about the trails a little bit earlier, the hiking,
Yeah.
so, and that stuff. So obviously that'll be on the horizon. We'll get that over to you guys.
Are you talking about the climber stuff?
For the
Correct.
rock property.
Yeah, there may be
Well-
some connections and stuff there.
We'll connect with you. Yeah, we'll have separate conversations about that, I'm sure.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, I should mention one last thing.
Inspector Colombo.
We're
One more
looking
thing.
into the adding some work out on Great Swamp Road and some town properties out there as educational things, fairly small pieces of property that has some home sites on them. And that'll be a new thing that'll come up.
Okay, great. We are running early. If you are good, you are up. You good to start early?
I can't get my computer to do its thing.
Okay. Well, ours are
Retired for the night.
iffy, so
Yeah.
Pretty sketchy too,
yeah, it might be a little
If
slow
you
to catch up.
we'll wing it with you. We will limp through it together.
Yeah, I know we're
Think
more
it's-
than 10 minutes early, so if you're
Okay,
good, we're
um,
good.
I'm-
Assessing first?
141, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Chair, can I have the record show I recuse myself for this discussion from the assessor's budget? Thank you.
Yes, you may. Thank you.
That's 7:35.
The biggest driver, it's all in the narrative, the biggest driver is the fact that I'm going to be retiring, and that we needed to build in enough so that I basically would be working at the most 40 weeks into the year. That would make my retirement date at the end of March, but if sooner happens, sooner happens. We were trying to build in some contingencies, failed search, inexperienced person. Next year is a revaluation year, which adds another level to that, and I really didn't want to leave the town to face that without somebody who had at least been through it a few times. So that's really what it is. So with either hire, we're allowing 6 to 8 months of training to make the transition as smooth as possible. We were hoping to hire a principal assessor. We have our doubts. The market is pretty slim in that area, in this geographical area, and thinking more like an assessor's clerk or an assistant assessor would have the basic skills, and I would be able to train them a little bit, or worst case scenario, somebody green, and they'd have to learn they'd have a very intense learning process. The only other thing is, the highlights are, we had a productive year. We're getting more comfortable working with being completely online with the Canvas software. It has its pros and cons. We hired our shared financial clerk, Emily Pollard, and she's working out fabulously. We're very pleased. She's really catching on quick. We really lucked out. She's a great asset to the town. And I think that's really about it, other than the wage increase. There wasn't anything else, unless you have some questions for me.
If I followed correctly in the narrative, and what you're explaining, it's budgeted as a principal assessor, right?
It
And for
is.
the overlap, so
Right.
the capacity's there if
Right,
we're
so
lucky. Okay.
if we don't hire a principal assessor, then there'll be extra capacity. If I retire a little sooner than March 31st, there'll be a little extra capacity, but we were trying to build in enough so that wouldn't leave the town short.
Great. Questions?
No. And then you have 142, which is
Planning
just your,
board. What?
142 is your revaluation.
Oh,
article.
I'm sorry, yes, the revaluation year. As I mentioned, it is a revaluation year. I think we put a little bit in it. I don't have the narrative, and it's, thought I'd have my computer, but it's not working.
It's at 35.
It's
Yeah.
at 35.
So I
Level
think that we
funding.
have enough it's a continuing appropriation. I think we have enough that you'll be able to hire some outside help. You'll need to this year. In previous years, it was really just for the commercial and for the mountain project appraisal. We also outsourced the utility appraisal, but that's a nominal amount at $5,700 every year. The big drivers are an outside appraisal company and the mountain project appraisal. But you'll need to hire an outside consultant to do most of the other. It's a little more in-depth and detail when you have a reval year than a non-reval year. I believe you'll have enough in the account.
Okay. Yep. And then planning board?
I believe we level funded it. We've been working diligently on our subdivision control bylaws.
175.
175, sorry.
Yeah.
That one's not embedded in my brain. We do anticipate, for the future, we do know on the horizon there's a possibility of a battery storage happening maybe within the next 3 to 4 years. As I said, we're working on the subdivision control bylaws, so we're hoping to wrap that up in the next 6 months or sooner. There's a few more things that have come up as we reviewed the zoning bylaws in depth that we'll probably be meeting on and maybe presenting at not this annual town meeting, but the annual town meeting after that, just to clean up a few things that have come up. And also, now that they have come down with regulations concerning attached dwelling units and detached dwelling units, we may have to adjust our zoning to accommodate the changes in the law.
Anything on planning?
Nope.
Good?
Nothing. Solid.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan, I should have given you a moment there probably between planning and assessing, but are you
okay.
rejoining now at 7:41?
Thank you.
Okay. Zoning Board of Appeals.
176. Correct. And that budget request is largely just used for advertising and mailings when a hearing is scheduled. And it's been $550 since I started.
Yeah.
So.
Got it.
Though the ZBA has been more active in the last year than I ever recall, so.
Great.
Typically, the applicants pay for whatever the costs are.
Right.
Occasionally, there's a small expense.
All right. I guess that brings that to IT, which I will cover. So I will recuse myself from the board at 7:42. And IT is 155. They are not a drop down in the narrative, by the way. I never told you that, but in the form. It is there, but yeah. So overall, the adjustments here, other than the salary and wage guidance, is around software subscriptions, and there are a couple, and they've been listed and detailed in here. And then there's an additional 10, which if you're in phase 2, you'll probably see, which came from discussions a couple weeks ago. So the ads are Verkada, so our security for elementary school and police department project.
Do they know if they click on that, it expands into detail?
I don't know, but IT could walk them through that if you or me. So if you look in the budget at line 558200, which is software subscriptions, in the blue columns, the first blue column, the initial budget request, there's a little green mark in the top left corner. If you click on that once, it will open up a table of all the detailed expenses that are in there. And so it's a detailing of most of the major software subscriptions that we pay for, including the new ones that we have implemented in FY25. And those drive the overage. So the Verkada security project for this year, the first phase for school and police department, we're anticipating about $16,000 increase for the annual subscription fees there, which obviously supported project and a known cost coming into 26. The next one is estimated around $10,000 for our hardware maintenance and licensing support for HP for all of our networking equipment. This was a 5-year licensing originally and maintenance, so back in 21, I believe it was, when we did around the time of the library project, and that project kind of rolled out to all town buildings. So that equipment, most of it is coming up for renewal early in 26. The 10,000 is an estimate. I'm still working on a better quote on exactly what that renewal may be and how many years we choose to go with. We'll drive that a little bit. So that's the 26,000 increase. And then there's another 10, which I added after our discussion, one of the last 2 meetings, and that is the annual cost for the new capital planning software and budget book with ClearGov that we just kicked off. So we're kicking it off in this fiscal year. The annual support cost is approximately $10,000, which we'll incorporate into the IT budget in 26. So that is, you'll only see that if you're looking at stage 2, because I added it as a stage 2 adjustment.
In the conversation back to Debbie's budget,
Yes.
if you ever want to start talking about where that tipping point is of a software that has lived in a departmental budget, now that more departments are using the same software, does it shift IT as a general support service? That's where that would go if you were to make that shift.
Top right.
Oh, yeah, I had
Your layout's different.
Mm-hmm.
With that?
Yeah, like that.
So that would be something like moving software support out of the treasury budget for Zobrio into here, because it's now, we're all using it.
Right.
Something of that sort. That's where most all of licensing and software that is more town-wide is living right now, so.
Correct.
Maybe a board decision around kind of just a standard guidance or policy at some point that you guys want to think about on when does something belong in a department versus the overall. Other than that, any questions on the annual operating budget for IT?
Nope.
No.
Okay, and then in terms of capital, couple items. One is the continuing upgrades on computers. So we did a cycle, we're doing a cycle this half of this fiscal year, and submitted another request for the same amount for next year. And then
It was
the
35.
35, yep. Yep, even though I'm on capital, but not on the right one in my project, in my farms here. And then the second part of it is whether or not we want to proceed with a phase 2 on the security project or the next phase. I don't have a better number yet, so still working on that. I'll continue working on it, but again, if we choose to put that off a year and approach it in 27, we can do that as well. Why am I not? Oh, because it's, there it is. And that would be looking at wastewater facility in the well house, the POTW number 1 area, and just estimated at 300 based on the projects we've done so far. But we'll get a better number on that as we get closer to finalizing budget here.
There was a question from Capital as to why we would be moving on if, well, A, is the school and police department complete? And if they are not, why are we moving on to other departments before completing those? Do you have a response for that, or?
I do. The school is fully implemented. There's a change order we're going to move forward with, but in terms of the original scope, that's complete. And then in terms of the police department, it's fully implemented and operational. There are some punch list items and stuff around enhanced functionality and policy and rollout that we are working on that will take longer, but from the vendor standpoint and the equipment being operational and functioning at the baseline expectation, it's all at that point.
Okay.
So that's more of internal processes and implementations that we are moving forward with, and we've still got almost half the fiscal year right now. So if we're looking at this project, looking at not starting until next fiscal year, obviously. So we've got almost 6 months to finalize those items. We'd consider those punch list and internal items rather than vendor. And I think my understanding from everyone involved has been that it has met the expectations that for that project from the vendor standpoint.
So you're not expecting any additional costs to those?
Not beyond the project funds available for that, no.
Okay.
No, we're within budget currently, and the anticipated change order is still well within the budget for the FY25 project.
Okay.
Other questions on IT?
How long till you think you have that number locked down for the capital request for the software?
I will get you a date this week.
Okay.
I would anticipate February, but I'll get you a more firm date by the end of the week. Okay. All right. I will rejoin the board at 7:50 p.m. And I will turn it over to you to represent for us on the administration and such, Brian.
Okay. So I owe you my narrative. It's not that it's not working correctly. So I will get that off to all of you.
If you didn't tell us, we wouldn't have known.
I know.
Well, some of us, most of us.
I always believe in being honest and transparent. So, but I also typically hit a couple other departments beyond just the one I represent. So 114 is the town moderator, level funded at $350. Don't know if there's any questions about that. Select board is in 122. And at this point, I've level funded all the select board line items. The budget to date has been sufficient. Moving on to administration, that's 123. So I level funded all the expense line items and only made the adjustment for wages. And I know it's doing that duplication thing again. The delay was the tech support emailing me back that they're trying to figure out why it's doing it too. So
As long as they can see it. That's
they
a start.
they can see it and they don't. They're puzzled as to why that's happening to us.
Okay.
No concerns.
None.
Go ahead.
131 is the FinCom. I haven't heard from the FinCom, so I level funded.
We discussed increasing the budget
Okay.
just a smidge, in case there were any trainings or anything like that, and I will get you that information.
Okay, so are you saying that you do want a trainings line item?
Yes.
Okay, I will add a trainings line item.
Did you define a number yet or no?
I believe it was an additional $500.
Yeah, it was.
Yes, okay,
500?
500.
Okay.
We're not very expensive over here at the FinCom.
No? You always
That's
turn it
okay.
back. So I will make that change.
Anticipating something larger. There wasn't as many zeros as I
No.
thought.
I mean, you want to give us 50, we'll take 50 grand.
No, I
We
didn't
have
mean
the
that
reserve
big
fund.
either.
I will make
Going
that
to a
change.
training in the
Thank you.
Bahamas, are we?
How many people are you bringing with you?
132 is your reserve fund. I level funded it at 50,000. That work? Okay. Legal services 151. I level funded again. Everything obviously ebbs and flows with what's happening. Right now, we seem to be right on track with our current budget. We're 6 months in and we're under 50% expended. The previous year was a little bit higher, but that had to do with some other issues that were unanticipated. So I'm feeling pretty confident that we're in a good place with these. Any questions? Personnel services are on 152. And again, I tried to level fund it. I think I adjusted by $100.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it seems to be meeting our needs.
Okay.
Okay. Then I was trying to remember public buildings. Glenn and I did that at the last meeting, correct?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
He does half and I do the other half. Property insurance is 193. So I left this zeroed out for right now only because I was trying to get through this weekend with the MMA conference and Maya releases their rate changes. So I am happy to say that they came back and property and liability is only going up by 1%. That doesn't mean that there aren't other adjustments for claim experience or one thing that we encountered last year were changes in valuations for properties. Say a facility that had been undervalued for a period of time and they needed to correct to get it back to replacement cost. So those things still have an impact, but as a whole, they're doing 1% adjustments. So I guess I'm looking to you all just for guidance on that. There could be some shifts. Now that I got this guidance this weekend that we're looking at only a 1%, would you like me to just budget the 1% or would you like me to factor in some other type of cushion?
You'd be factoring that in off of last year's actuals, which were higher than the budget anyway, right?
The actuals in the end come down. It doesn't look that way yet. It looks like it's overexpended, and that's because in January, I get updated information that breaks out the premium cost to every department. And then I go back and I do a journal entry with the accountant to the water fund, to the wastewater fund. So once I make those transactions, that will come back into budget. I just can't do
So
it for the-
1% would be off the 162 budget,
Correct.
in theory?
Correct. And I would make a similar adjustment to property in liability and water and wastewater.
Any recommendation?
I was going to say, what did you say the time frame was? For any of the other fluctuations, there isn't really any.
The only other thing that's a fluctuation at this point is claim history. So if we have deductibles or something of that nature. At this point, it's pretty well understood. What I will have is that breakdown. Wastewater was one place where plant 1 was significantly undervalued, and I got them to increase it to the replacement cost. So that I do expect a substantial change in the premium just to cover that. The other buildings that were adjusted for this year were the police station, the town hall, and fire station 2. So those have already been realized in here. So I do expect a portion of this, just don't know how much. It's usually around 20,000. Will shift to wastewater. Potentially something like 25, somewhere in that range. So that would inform that line item on wastewater.
And that's the one that may go up? you anticipate going up from a valuation standpoint?
Correct. Yeah, I want to say it was about I think it was like a $10 million change.
Okay.
Against the total value of?
It was a total value of just over 12 million, and they had it appraised just shy of 3.
Oh, so, okay.
It was a significant change.
That's what I was it
Yeah.
10 against
No,
100? It's
yeah,
10
not-
against
no.
12. Okay.
10 against
They,
3 is.
they had
Yeah,
started to
yikes,
do a reappraisal of all municipal buildings statewide, and they were looking for your biggest, most expensive buildings first, and they were working their way down. They got to the school, then COVID happened, and then nobody was going into the field to do this work. And so when they picked up the work, they were about 4 years behind where they wanted to be. And so when they came to town, I said, I need you to check this building, and this building, and this building. Betsy and I met with them. And that was the result of that change.
I mean, the 1% is only like 1,600. I don't know if you want to work in a little extra.
Yeah, I think we should.
I would feel more comfortable if we had a little more cushion, at least so we know that any other adjustments will be
Okay.
covered and we won't be scrambling later.
Okay.
I don't know if,
I mean, I was going to say even a 5% is
Yeah.
like 8,100. So, but even if you
I
just
was
turn,
thinking at least 3, but yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
I was going to say bring it up to between 168, 170, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Add 6 to 8,000 in there.
Yeah.
We can always adjust as we.
As soon as I get that final breakdown, and again, it should be in the next few weeks, I can share it with all of you and we can fine tune it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I was pleased to get, it's rare that you get something that's only a 1% change, so I was pleased with that.
So what do we want to do until we have the final numbers? 3, 5, 8, I don't know.
170.
I was going to say
170.
170
Nice.
is a,
170,
Okay.
nice round number.
Sure.
Okay. So
No,
I will
and we
break
can
that
play
out.
with it as we move
Yeah.
along.
Yeah.
And the
We'll adjust
portion
as needed.
and the portion that we have in the wastewater department, we want to make sure that that is
I'll go back and revisit that.
has much more than a 5% adjustment.
Now that we're 2 meetings into this, I'll start doing that thing where we keep a memo of any potential changes or new information that comes out. So I'll include that in your packet going forward.
It's okay, I already incorporated your 170, so you're good.
Perfect. And then the last 2 items that I have in general government that are miscellaneous, there's the annual town reports. Those are our printing fees. We've been budgeting $1,000, and that has been sufficient. We've been fortunate enough to use the print services at the House of Correction. They did have a price increase last year. I'm assuming they'll likely have a price adjustment again this year, but I still feel like the $1,000 is sufficient. And then the last one, we purchase advertising space in the Around Town newsletter. It's the way that all our boards and commissions and departments advertise their events, public hearings, things of that nature. So I think we should continue to do that. And so I put in the level funded request of $8,000.
makes sense to me.
It's actually great for compliance to make sure that we can say we've delivered it to doors. It's really
Bring
helpful.
it to every house.
Yep.
Any questions on the administration, select board, finance?
Everything there.
At all.
All at all? Is that what you-
So then we can switch out of Fund 1. So you want to scroll back up to the top and collapse General Fund. And you want to go down to Fund 240, that's the PEG access channel. I think we all did it at the exact same time. and it
Yeah.
froze.
I was going to say, I have a hamster wheel.
Yeah.
There we go. So this is Fund 240, Department 159. And there's a lot of things happening there. The beginning parts are just the revenue sections, so you can ignore those and focus on ordinary expenses. So I just want to check in with you all before I put together a plan. We have been trying for a year to get a cable advisory committee. I have one person who has stepped forward, but that's not enough to even have a quorum. So we're still without a cable advisory committee. So the select board has been acting as the de facto. With that being said, the question that came up last year, and we've kind of implemented this, because Otis has been so flexible for us, to start covering more other board or commission public hearings or events. And so the planning board has used the service to broadcast events. I believe there was a presentation at the library. A speaker came and did the presentation that was recorded and broadcast. So we, at last year's budget, worked in a little more capacity at the $20,000 to cover a few additional events throughout the year. I think that makes sense. We have not used all of that. And I would like to continue to do that. So I don't want it to look like we're not spending the extra money that I asked for last year. But I also note that if it's this board overseeing that, there's probably not a lot of energy behind coordinating well in advance. And a lot of that needs prior coordination. So are you okay with me continuing to request a level funded budget like we did last year with that capacity in it? Or would you like me to go back down to just the contractual amount and not try to keep pushing for something to happen that maybe people aren't excited about? I'm excited for it, but I'm only one person.
Whether or not I'm excited for it is irrelevant. I would say leave it in there and
Okay.
use that as a placeholder, but it becomes part of the discussion. You know, we know, I'm assuming this budget's going to get very tight, and we're going to have a lot of in-depth conversations about where funding sources are coming from and what's our gap that we're trying to fill. This might be one of them where we said, while we might be very interested in keeping that there and pushing more of that initiative, if we need an extra little pocket of money, this could be one that we look at. So, but I think for now, leaving it on there, it does align with what we have said many times, that the more transparent we can be and the more that we are out in the public eye and online and accessible, the better off we are. So,
Okay.
I say leave it, but I'm coming from a different perspective of as serving on a board that has to hold public hearings or public information sessions. I know there's quite a few boards that are, do those things.
Right.
It would be nice to see those broadcasted more. So I would like to leave it and see that maybe there is, I don't know who oversees, you, select board, some sort of policy as to what meetings are broadcasted and what meetings aren't. I know right now it's only focused mainly on the Board of Selectmen and the school committee.
Right.
But I believe at one time the intent was to have it roll out to more boards and commissions. And so I know the planning board tried to have one of their hearings done as a public hearing, was trying to have it broadcasted, and I just thought that was very nice that it was something that, residents could tune in,
Right.
live or after the fact and see what we were doing.
Right. That's exactly the purpose. I mean, I want to be tempering some expectation. We don't have an unlimited budget. We have the annual receipts from the franchise agreement. That's the major source right now for funding all of this. So it funds, the additional capacity funds a few public hearings, but if boards and commissions were very serious about it, I think we'd have a conversation about, is there an additional dedicated funding source that is partnered with the franchise agreement revenue to make all of that capacity possible. But
and
without
is there bandwidth to
Yes.
there's a bandwidth.
actually run all of those
Right.
and have somebody present
Which
to run
means
the-
that there would not only be bandwidth on our side, but making sure that our vendor
That's
has the bandwidth to do
I
that.
was talking about.
Well, it's a discussion amongst all, right?
Yeah.
But I think the important part is the conversation should have light to it. It should be something that people talk about, not only amongst each other at this table, but as boards are having conversations about what their plans are for the year. I usually find out what's happening in boards and commissions, but it's not like it's a months out plan about when we're planning to do things. So if boards or commissions want to start talking about that, we need a long lead time to make sure that everything can be coordinated correctly.
Do we have any data to show what type of viewership we have, or sort of to try
question.
and generate what type of return on investment we're getting? Whether it's live view or people watching recordings, or?
We can put that together for you.
That's data we can get, yeah.
Yep.
At our fingertips at this moment, no, but
No.
I believe
I don't
it's
have it
available.
compiled.
It's on the paperclip.
It looks like the one that's missing.
It will be there, yes.
Yes, we
It
can
would
get
just
it.
be good to know, I'm fully supportive of, government on any level being transparent.
Right.
And it's a great ideal, but are we chasing something that's not there? And do we invest that? Or even, I'll take it a step further, is how do we promote that awareness to bring in additional
Absolutely.
viewership?
Absolutely. All great questions.
I think the board can take on maybe setting policy or guidelines around what is a minimum that we'd like to see broadcast. I think public hearings is something that we've talked about at times. We've got town meetings, special and annual board,
Right.
school committee, select board, but, are there some other minimum things that we want to kind of either mandate or
Right.
set an expectation that should be because of their importance? And then from there, I think there's also some outreach to all the boards and committees and commissions to say, this exists. Is there interest in, being on it more often? And that can help inform from their side too. What are they ready to help support? Because we can't support it all, but we can facilitate the conversations and moving it forward. I know we're ahead of schedule and I don't want to ruin that, so I'll stop there. But I think it's good.
So that's it for those departments. I'll make those adjustments and send you a memo, and I'll collect that viewership information for you. I did have draft revenues on here. That was the initial goal. The governor did release her budget at the end of last week. There are modest increases in local unrestricted aid for Erving. That's not a lot of money. It's a few $1,000s. Some adjustments in the pilot funds for state-owned land. Some changes in school and charter costs. So I'm going to send you all of that information now that it's been released. I didn't have a chance last week to sit down with the assessing office and just verify my numbers and make sure that we're feeling good about the levy projections.
Okay.
So I will find time to do that in the coming week, and I'll get that out to you as well. So maybe at your February 10th meeting, we could review our revenue projections and start to have that conversation.
I heard Deb mention about the free cash, and I forgot to ask her. I know it's not certified, and she's just kind of finalizing it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have a sense of that number yet, or
I did not get that from her.
Okay.
She's been working on it in the last several weeks, but I do know that there was a flurry of emails going back and forth today, so I think that I will have that for next week.
Okay.
How long it will take to
For
certify
the
it, I don't
10th.
know.
Well, again, it's anticipated until it's certified,
Correct.
right? So-
Correct. But yes, I will get that to you as well.
Okay.
Closing 2 books out of 2 systems and making them one has been a little tricky. So the finance team has been very patient working through
absolutely. Absolutely.
that. On the capital front, there were only a few general government capital requests. I know obviously Jake already touched upon the IT related ones. So the one I had in there was the request for licensing software for it'd be the town clerk's office, the select board, the board of health, and potentially also supporting for public works, fire, a few other departments. So there was a $28,000 request, and that was informed by a previous cost proposal that had been submitted for similar software.
Brian, can you refresh our memory? Did that 28,000 include annual fee?
The annual fee was the first year, yes, it's all included. The recurring cost on that software, I'm not saying that that would be the vendor, was approximately $9,000.
Okay.
There's already software in each of these offices to date to do permitting, so we would be reallocating all of those funds. So there may be a slight adjustment. Again, it goes back to that
Okay.
question: when does it continue to live in each of the departments, or
Yep.
when does it just become a cost that gets centralized somewhere? So depending on how many departments sign on, it may make sense to have that conversation.
Regardless, what you're proposing though is that 28 covers the implementation first year,
Correct.
operating cost,
Correct.
everything. So it's a 27 change to software cost, if
Correct.
not a 26.
That's correct.
Okay.
I know the ClearGov one, I think, was put back in your packet, but you all took action on that at the last meeting. And that's in the queue right now, it's moving through. So I should have a communication out to everybody very soon about where that project is going to launch and start. So ClearGov is actively setting us up in their systems. So, and then the very last one, which was one that former Selectman Ben Berry came to the Select Board about back in December. That's your senior housing project. We don't know where senior housing lives in the budget. They're technically sort of like a Health and Human Service type department, though they're created under the Select Board and they don't have a budget. And they're asking you about capital improvements for a road and water system. So we didn't know if they fit with Public Works last time, but here they are this week. This is not a new project. These are the projects that Bill and the Senior Housing Committee brought to you last year. What's different is the costs were refined with engineering proposals. So that's all in your packet. Just for a high summary, the aggregate that we're looking at for water, wastewater, and the road construction is estimated to be $2,353,000. The grant window that we've been talking about for the last 2 years just opened this weekend. So we are now, starting now, we can start working on our statement of interest, getting that into the queue. The state has this process called the One Stop. I know Mariah had talked to you all about this several times in the past. They took 12 different grant programs and put them all through the same application portal. You do the statement of interest round, submit by March. You get feedback in May. They help match the right grant to your project and give you some guidance on where to strengthen your application. And then all of that is due back by a June deadline. I'm just not clear on what the June deadline is. So the goal is to take these costs right here and start putting them into our statement of interest and start that application process now. So I have a member of the Senior Housing Committee who's offered to work alongside and proof my work, and I'm gonna start drafting it. And then we'll get that ready for the Senior Housing Committee and the Select Board to review, make sure that they're happy with that submission, get it submitted, and then wait to get the feedback back. In the meantime, Senior Housing Select Board will be meeting with some state officials to start talking through this process, this project and this process, because some of those offices oversee these grants. And so getting their eyes on our facility, to see our property, to hear about how much we are behind this project, and that we need their assistance to make these things happen. So,
Am I recollecting that number is a lot higher than we had been talking in the past, or no?
these are the same numbers that we've been talking about
by
for a
that?
year.
Okay.
There was, I think you may be referring to when RDI came through the RFP process, they referred to a local contribution to make the project work. And I think they had something like $400,000 in it. That's part of their funding matrix. The reality is this is what we need to do to build out our infrastructure. And so this will obviously more than satisfy a contribution that we're doing.
Yeah, no, I was
Right.
thinking 1416. I remember the 4, but that's fine. Two something, that's okay.
You're probably thinking the water and wastewater,
Maybe.
and then the road has to be built on top of that. So, and then there's a contingency for both.
Questions? Nope.
If anybody wants to be a second set of eyes on a draft grant application, I'm happy to share and take critical feedback. So, okay, I've got a volunteer. Thank you.
We'll take it. The more the merrier right now.
Yeah.
Excellent. And that's all I had.
Put forth the most appealing grant application we can and get maximum interest.
We're going to give it our all.
We'll advocate tomorrow.
Yes, we will.
Brian, does the One Step, can you refresh, is that a percentage grant? Is it a potential of being a full grant?
It depends on the project.
Okay.
They are highly competitive. As the governor and the lieutenant governor said on stage this weekend, the the asks are about 5 times what they can fund. So they're thrilled that all the municipalities are rallying through this process and presenting their project, but it's highly competitive.
Okay.
So even if they really love your project, you may not get everything you're asking for. So it's possible, and I'll use MassWorks as an example. We received $600,000, I want to say, through MassWorks to do the wastewater pump station down by IP Mill to get ready to redevelop that site. And the actual project cost was just above that. So we had to match some funding from another source to do that, and we were able to target a federal grant for that. So it depends. I do believe that we'll probably have to patchwork a couple grants to make this work. But that was sort of what we were anticipating to begin with. They did launch a separate program a year ago called Housing Works. So it works similarly to the MassWorks program that we're familiar with, but it is solely focused on the infrastructure required to build out affordable housing. And I'm told by the Rural Affairs Director that they have carved out specifically rural communities have a sort of earmark hold in there. So while there's a competitive pool, while we will be competing against everybody else, rural communities like ours will be competing against each other as opposed to us competing against Boston and some of the others.
Okay, that's interesting.
So we have a higher odds pool.
That's what I'm hoping.
Hopefully. Another thing to advocate for tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Because they will be here, right?
Yep.
So, hopeful. But there's a lot of different grants too, and
Absolutely.
these qualify for a few different
Yep.
within, so
Right.
hopefully we're maximizing our odds.
Absolutely.
And it's multi-year and we can keep applying,
Absolutely.
so
So
we'll
I don't
keep getting
think
every penny we can.
I don't think it hurts to throw in
Let's go.
everything and get the feedback. And then once we have that feedback in May, we can tailor what your final submission is.
Other questions? Anything else on the budget tonight that we didn't cover? On budget stuff that we didn't cover?
Nope, I think we're good.
I will get you all of these answers and updates. I will go back through with tech support and figure out what's going on with your double lines. And anywhere that was a missing narrative, make sure it's actually in there and showing for you. But in the meantime, I'll forward anything that I find that is missing. Are there other things you want in the 2 weeks in between?
You got that the narratives aren't showing in stage 2, right?
Yes.
Is the getting booted like crazy just a influx of user problem?
I will ask that question.
Okay.
Because I have not seen that happen. You're the
Ben and I were
This is
getting
the
booted
first
like
Both of
almost
you?
every minute
Both of you?
for a little bit. Yeah, it hasn't, knock on wood, it has not happened for a little bit, but in the beginning, we were getting kicked considerably.
Dan, are you getting, is it a tablet versus
I
laptop?
got kicked once.
You
You
did?
did too.
You
Yeah.
got a special one.
Okay. Let me ask. Well, you're not in there. That's right. But it didn't happen to the three of you.
I didn't,
No,
no,
I
I was
didn't
able to
know.
open, I
So I'm
had,
feeling like
pa-
the FinCom is being kind of,
are you being targeted?
I wouldn't even know how to do that.
Did we put them in that group?
right?
This is the FinCom Wi-Fi.
No, I
Supposed
feel,
to take them out of that group before the meeting.
maybe you just have to have Brian do the login, because I had paper clips that I could open.
Well, we got paper clips, we just can't open.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Is that when, but just out of curiosity, is that when you got booted, it was only open in the paper clips, or you were getting it
No,
to-
just sitting here.
and kicked back to your desktop, out of the RDP and all of it?
Because I sent it to
Yeah, but it
them
only
to you.
makes you
Because
log
Pete
in
wasn't
with
here.
one.
Not,
Log in.
not to the desktop. I would it'd log you out, and then it'd say, do you want to connect back up again? And you would wait, you wouldn't hit cancel, and it would connect you back up.
Yes, that's what was happening to me.
Just
And
go
your
back.
An
Zobrio
error
was,
message would
Yeah.
pop up.
Oh, okay.
and your Zobrio was still
Okay,
open?
I knew-
Looked like it, because it would bring me
Right
right back to the
budget
budget screen.
screen? Okay, all right,
Yeah.
all right.
It should, it should have gone here.
Only one layer. They only got kicked out of one layer.
Yeah, but which is important, so that's helpful.
Yeah.
We'll be able to communicate that to them.
No.
And then I'll send you the grant links.
Anything else system-wise? Any other questions overall? You're looking like you were hoping I didn't have yes to that.
No, you can say yes to that. I do have a favor, if you all will entertain it, because we did so great on time and you're going to leave early tonight.
There's always one.
Can I have 5 minutes to ask Mr. Sanders to come up?
I mean, I suppose.
Can't wait.
What does
Come
he,
on up.
well, wait, no, wait. What does he want? What does Mr. Sanders
It's
want?
a potential grant opportunity for a capital project
Come
he
to the
asked you all
table,
for.
Pete.
Oh, that tune changed quick, didn't
He
it?
walked in this morning and said, I think there's a grant opportunity. I'm like, tell them all about it. I don't know.
If it's money, I even have 6 minutes.
That we don't have to spend, absolutely.
Okay, a little while ago, it ended in September, October, there was a cybersecurity grant, and originally DEP had set aside about $2 million. I found out earlier today that they only actually spent out about $1 million, so they have $1 million left, so they're continuing the grants until the money's gone. And for the size of our system, we potentially qualify for 15,000, which would help great towards my request of the SCADA computer.
Okay.
That's qualifying.
I'm hearing
Yes, yes. The good thing why it qualifies is this is for water supply, drinking water, but we still have drinking water stuff on the SCADA computer, so we use that. So we should qualify for it.
So the cybersecurity funding is for water related?
Yes,
Okay. But it's shared, so it qualifies.
yes, that's what I've been told. It would be
So my
fine,
scale
so.
question's not gonna matter, because I can't scale that up.
So it's a grant. I think we should try for it. Time Bond can do the application and stuff because they'd be the contractor.
But
If
they'd be
we
doing the
did-
project anyway, right?
Right.
For SCADA?
Okay.
Do you know much about, and we can talk offline about it, but what that limitation on the funding is? Is it just the structure of the program, or is it this specific use? Like if we were doing other things, like the security stuff, would that potentially garner more funding, or is it limited just in general?
It's there's a little short list here. I sent you the link.
You did, yeah, I'll look at it.
Under eligible projects, there's like 8 different things we can use it towards.
Okay.
If it was, can you apply, I'm going to guess the answer to this is no, but would you be able to apply for 2 separate projects? So for the SCADA computer, and then if it was eligible and for the security for the department?
I would agree with you. It's probably no.
Oh, okay, just thought I'd try.
Is there a maximum amount of money you can ask for?
It's a limit of up to, for the size of our system, it's up to 15,000.
Okay.
So the 15 is a hard cap.
Right.
Okay.
And that would cover,
It would cover 3/5 of the SCADA computer.
yeah.
See how creative we are.
Would that factor in the additional increase to your system that we'll be advocating for tomorrow to provide clean, safe, cyber secure drinking water to our senior living
Talking about
community?
Does that scale up the size? Is that what we're saying?
No,
No,
no, because it's
it's the population.
it's the
served.
population. We're less than 3,300.
Yeah. Unless you're putting in a very large project, much bigger than the
Right.
units that we already have planned.
So 3,300 is the number? We're not gonna, okay.
Okay.
Are you okay with us drafting a grant application? Giving it a
I'd
shot?
say so. I mean, that's a huge chunk of that computer system, so.
We know you haven't committed to the project yet, but
Well, I was just gonna say, so
Right.
if we go forward with the grant, and we don't have to decide now, we can always turn it down, but would we likely support the computer then if we? I mean, I think we
If
considered
the-
it an emergent need anyway, but,
Yeah.
or a critical
Whatever
need.
fits it best.
Okay.
If the delta's 11,000 instead of 26.
Yeah.
Right. When is the application deadline and when do you hear back if you've been approved?
It's kind of like a sooner the better situation to do the
Okay.
application, because when the money's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
so it's a
It's
rolling.
kind of like with the lead service line. I remember that was a little confusing. It was the last minute, rush to apply for it. This grant was out before, and then, like I said, they closed it somewhere between September and October. Then we started really having problems with our SCADA computer, so that's why I brought it up for the capital.
Okay.
Thanks for looking at it. We didn't know about it, so
Yeah.
good.
Do you know when, if you were to apply and be approved, do you know when they notify you of that?
Joe is gonna try to find out for me.
Okay.
I'm guessing it's rolling, so as they do them, they'll probably let people know. Do you know how long we have to execute the program, if funded, or whatever project?
I was looking at this, and it didn't really say.
Yeah, okay, I didn't see it either, that's what I was wondering.
I'll see if Joe knows.
I expect it is not in the next 3 months, so we'll be in the next fiscal year before, well before it should expire.
Right.
So, does a consensus agreement among the committees suffice to proceed, or is
As
there?
long as
a
you're
mo-
comfortable with it.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't
Sound like
see,
consensus?
yeah, I don't see anybody arguing against it, so I just didn't know if a formal motion was required.
Yeah, when we did the lead service line, they had a very specific resolution you had to adopt. So that was a very formal vote. So if we go through the process and there's a very formal document you must, you
Okay.
know, approve to start, then we'll get it to you.
Just, all right, but for now, consensus works.
Right.
Okay, good.
Every bit counts, right?
Yes, it does.
Absolutely.
I think that was less than 5 minutes. Thank you.
So, I do have, just give me one more moment if y'all would.
Only
might
if you're
be-
bringing money to the table.
I might be. I don't know if it matters, but you may want to have Joe look into the disadvantage designation, because there's a lot of green on this map, if I'm reading it right. We're part of it, and I don't know if that increases what we can get.
No, I already asked that.
Oh.
It put us on the third tier.
Okay.
I was just shocked that we were on it.
I'm seeing the green, thinking we're on it. Does that
Right,
help
we're in
us?
the
I don't
green,
know.
so-
Doesn't help us. Okay. Well, it was worth asking.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
Thank you.
All set?
Thanks,
Thank
Pete.
you.
Okay, no, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Now I'm done.
Is there any other business that we have? Anybody has?
A motion to adjourn the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee
Second.
Can I get a join too?
and Capital Planning. No, you have to stay.
Jeez.
Was there a second?
I didn't hear one.
Yeah, oh yeah, Thomas is seconded.
Thomas seconded.
Oh,
Yeah, it was a clear
oh, oh.
second.
I was looking at the one last item on our agenda, but yeah, we can do that after. All in favor? Aye. All right, we have one item left, which is review and approval of treasury warrant. Wait.
That was not ready for,
Okay.
so if we could just pass
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. I hadn't looked at what that was, so we will pass over that.
Okay.
We don't have any other items then. We will see you, we'll all be here tomorrow, the board,
At noon.
at noon,
on Wednesday.
and then Wednesday at 7:30.
Yep.
All right.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. Have a good evening.